Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Jeb Smith, real estate broker here in Huntington Beach, California. And today I'm talking about the difference between the Proposition 13 repeal that you've seen floating around the internet or maybe heard about with regards to property taxes and the Proposition 13 that's actually on the March 3rd ballot that was recently sent to you in the mail. So there's a lot of confusion going on between the two because they're both Proposition 13. So I wanted to take a minute and kind of tell you the differences in the two to help you make informed decisions in going forward. Now, I would always suggest that you still read the measures, go over them yourself. Don't just take my word for it to make sure that you're getting accurate information. But I'm just going to do a little bit of summary to try to help you, the confusion, because again, I'm hearing it a lot, I'm seeing it a lot, so I thought it was worth the time to tell you a little bit about it. So the Proposition 13 repeal that you've seen me post about in videos before, online, what have you, has to do with the 1978, the landmark proposition that was passed in 1978 that protects homeowners' property taxes from going up to whatever the assessed value of their home is. So in 1978, and I'll link to that video below where it gives you a little bit more information on Proposition 13 at that time, but essentially what it does is it protects your property taxes from going up any more than 2% per year. So that's what the repeal that's on the ballot in November, I believe they just got enough signatures to get that measure on the ballot for November, has to do with the 1978 Proposition 13. And currently, the way the bill is written is that more or less they're going to take businesses and industrial properties out of that proposition. Any business or industrial property over $3 million has the ability, if that's passed, to then be taxed at whatever the current values are on the property, whereas currently they are protected. With regards to residential properties, it says that any property that is currently a residence is essentially protected under that 1978 law. It doesn't go into a lot of detail and talk about what a residence actually is, but as that bill is updated, as it has been multiple times, that measure has been updated multiple times from when it was initially written, I will update videos and give you more information on that. But for now, March 3rd is right around the corner, so that's what I'm talking about today. What is the proposition that's on the ballot that you're voting on with the one that just came in the mail? So that proposition is a construction school bond. And so the way it's written is that the state is essentially going to provide $15 billion towards construction of, to go towards schools. And so in theory, it sounds really good, right? $15 billion towards schools, that's a great thing, but you got to read the fine language, what's written there in small print, if you will. It's not written in small print, but make sure you're reading through it to understand it. And that $15 billion is actually $27 billion with interest, right? So it's $27 billion, I think over 35 years or something is how it's spread out. So it's something like $780 million a year that has to be repaid by the state. Here's the caveat. In order for the county or the city to receive those funds from the city has to match the funding, right? So the city has to also match the funding from the state in order to be provided that money. And that's where what the bill doesn't mention. And so in order for them to get that money, the schools have to essentially, or the city has to essentially match that amount. And the way they do that is raising property taxes through school bonds. And so, if you ever look at your property tax bill on there, you've got your traditional property taxes, and in there, you've got any additional bonds that may be added on there, and that's what takes your tax rate above that 1%. So the 1978 proposition essentially protects your property taxes at 1% of whatever the value was, and then you have school bonds and stuff like that are added onto it. So in order for the schools, say Huntington Beach, in order for them to get a portion of that $15 billion for the school construction, they have to match whatever their funds are, and they do that through raising property taxes. So if you like your property taxes where they are, if you don't like paying more, then keep in mind that, in order for them to repay that, they have to pay property taxes. So it's not as easy as just saying, hey, the state's going to give you $15 billion, because that's not the case. They are going to give you $15 billion, but in order for them to do so, the local Huntington Beach, for example, or whatever city you're in, is going to raise your property taxes in order to come up with their portion so that they actually get the money to start. So that's what you're voting on March 3rd. That's the Proposition 13. Now, why are there two Proposition 13s? I didn't mention that initially, but what happens is every 10 years, the propositions are renumbered. So in 10 more years, there'll be another Proposition 13. In 10 more years, there'll be another Proposition 13. And they're not always to do with taxes. They're not always doing the same thing. It's just they renumber those propositions. So, it's very confusing, and I don't know why they don't do something different, but you've seen Proposition 13 out there with regards to a property tax repeal that is coming, but this property tax, or this Proposition 13, has to do with school bonds, which essentially means that they're going to raise your property taxes if it is passed. So I hope that is helpful. If you need additional information, do me a favor, comment below, or you're welcome to contact me directly. I'm happy to help. Either way, I appreciate you taking the time to watch, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Have an awesome day. Bye-bye.